Welcome everybody to the Ryan Ride Mechanic Show. I'm Ryan the Ride Mechanic, and today we're going to talk about a little weird issue, but something as a viewer request. They asked a question in general, why do parks sign these types of contracts with manufacturers that certain things can't be discussed? They are not nuclear codes. I agree with that. Let's talk about it.
Now get ready. Here we go.
Okay, so what we're talking about here is that when parks enter into agreement with manufacturers, there's a lot of hush-hush around stuff. The manufacturer does not want the park talking about stuff. The park doesn't want the manufacturer talking about stuff. By the way, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It lets me know that you like the video and wanted to subscribe to the channel. It's free for you, and it lets me know that you subscribe to the channel. So I really appreciate that. So what they're talking about is when the parks buy a ride, the manufacturer does not like the cost of that ride to get out. And they're saying, why? Why is that so crazy? Why does that matter so much? Every ride that's purchased is a custom ride. It's 100% custom. You may say, well, oh yeah, but you can have a boomerang, you can have a cookie cutter ride purchased. It's like, yes, you can, but everything you request on that ride will change. Think of it like a blank sheet of paper. You know, there's a list and it just says ride. And then all this other stuff comes into play. And then because you built your ride a specific way, doesn't mean the next park is going to do the same thing. So, how would you feel if I went to a car dealership and purchased a car and walked out of there and saw another person looking at that car and said, hey, I just bought that car for $30,000. And then that person goes to buy that car and they say, your car is going to cost you $40,000. And that person's like, you just sold it to that guy out there for $30,000. Why can't I get the same deal? Well, cars, maybe not the best analogy, but when we're talking about rides, the customizations that you could put onto the ride at the beginning of the project that's still within the scope of just a cookie cutter ride, all over the place, right? Let's look at a boomerang. On a boomerang, I say, I want to buy a boomerang. And they go, that's really good. We want to sell you a boomerang. Right? We all knew who we're talking about, Vekoma. Love Vekoma rides, by the way. They're great. I like working on them. They're awesome. Good company to work with. I can't say work for, but good company to work with. They offer great support and everything else. But anyways, you say, I want to buy a boomerang. They go, good. We want to sell you that boomerang. Okay. Let's talk about it. What do you want? And just say, well, I just want a boomerang. What's the regular boomerang? It's like, well, okay. Do you want welded chassis? Do you want chassis with no welds in them? It's like, well, I don't have that much money for NDT I want to spend every year. So let's go for the billet style chassis or no welds. Okay, great. That just raised your price way up. And then it's like, okay. And then, let's see, sound is an issue at my park. So I want the lift detonating noise. There's a modification to make lift 2 quiet. It's still noisy, but I mean, it's quieter than a stock lift is. So you put those on and then you start adding all this extra cost onto there. So you can say that you did all that and then that cost you X amount of dollars. Well, if you skimped in places and didn't put things in there, it's like, oh, I went with ratcheting style restraints instead of hydraulic restraints. The next park that comes around and says, hey, we want to do this same thing just like you did over here at that guy's park, how they configure it produces a different cost. And they don't want people going, hey, it's cheaper there, because really what suffers in the middle is the ride. The ride suffers. Manufacturers don't want to build an unsafe ride. They're not going to build an unsafe ride. And they don't want to sell you something that is just going to shoot themselves in the foot. So, very finicky. Interestingly enough, one of the things that rivals almost the cost of the ride is the installation of the ride. I've covered this before in a different video. We purchased a roller coaster. It was roughly $16 million. A lot of money, right? It cost, like I was talking with the director who installed the roller coaster, it cost $10 million to install that roller coaster. Remember, when you buy something, you're just buying the pieces. You're not buying it assembled. You're not buying it tested. You're not buying it fully running. When they build like the track and structure and they go, here's your track and structure. Have you ever seen a track and structure by itself? It looks really funny. You say, why would that look really funny? There's no station. There's no catwalks running up to anything. There's no nothing else. It's like, well, the manufacturer doesn't supply that. It's like, if you specified that in your contract, they do. If you did not specify that, then there's a little line in there that I love to see on print sometimes. It says, supplied by others. And guess who the others is? It's you. You're the other. You get to supply it. So whatever you want. So things like we purchased a skyrocket. Great, we got a skyrocket. It's like, okay, think about something stupid. Who does it? By something stupid, I mean like the gates that let you onto the train. The exit gate that keeps you out of the station while the ride's running. Supplied by others. Guess who built that? I built that. Because they were like, oh, do we need this? I was like, no, we don't need anything. I came up with the idea of what I wanted to do. I implemented it. I built it. I'm like, okay, use pneumatic actuators, open, closing, electromagnetic latches for the gate, wired in two positions, top and bottom. So we had that the gate was closed and the magnet was bonded back to the safety system. I designed the pneumatics to where that it closed under low pressure. You can grab the gates and stop them and just push them back open, and it would allow that. But then as soon as it made it to the closed position, it went full high pressure. And then I also put in a timeout that said if it wasn't closed within X amount of seconds to automatically open back up, assuming somebody was stuck in the gate, right? But that was nothing that manufacturer did. I did that. And then the guy who came and put the controls together, he was like, hey, how do your gates work? I said, this is what I want to happen. I wanted to do it all with relays so I didn't have to do a ton of logic in there. And the guy said, oh, no, I've got extra I/O. I've got extra slots open for that stuff. He says, you just tell me how many wires you need and how many inputs and outputs you need, and you got them. I said, oh, I need 2 outputs and 6 wires coming in. And he's 6 inputs coming in. He's like, absolutely, got the space for him. Saved a ton of work on my end. Just a little tiny bit of programming for him. But anyways, there's those little things that is not talked about. That's where the cost is too. And that's one of the reasons why manufacturers don't like displaying what they did. Say, we built this for this, and this is how much it was, and this is what we did, because everything is custom. And they just don't like broadcasting that information because they don't want to stifle another park's creativity. They don't want to downplay something or upplay something that we upplayed this because we love this. Well, the next park might hate that. And that might be a negative issue for them as it would be a positive issue for anybody else. So, weird topic, I understand. But there's those little things. So, some of the reasons why manufacturers are very hush-hush. Other things might be a simple NDA, non-disclosure agreement, that they're doing something like, hey, we don't want this getting out. We don't want channels like all these roller coaster channels on YouTube. We don't want them getting a hold of this information because we want this to stay behind closed doors until we release it to everybody because we don't want it out there. Interesting thing, a lot of manufacturers do a kind of like a guarantee. When you go to a manufacturer and you say, hey, I want the world's fastest ride. And they go, okay, we will build you the world's fastest ride. Here's how we do it. A lot of times parks also enter into that contract and they say, you need to tell us that you will not turn around next year and build the world's fastest ride again with a different park. So if we built a ride that went 150 miles an hour, you're not going to turn around next year and build one that does 155. And the next year, you're not going to turn around and build one that does 160. So parks will sometimes enter into an agreement with the manufacturer that says they will not beat that ride for another couple years after they produce it. That, I have no idea what it costs, but I imagine it would cost so much money because you're actually preventing ride sales at that point in time. That is going to be so much money. So much money. Oh my gosh. To prevent ride sales. Don't worry, people. Parks will get on the list. You know, I hear all sorts of people talking about like, oh yeah, well, this park is going to do this next year, and what do you think about that park did that next year? You know, and it's like, yeah, no, that's that would actually, a contract was said, done, and signed like 4 years ago. It's just they've been on a waiting list to build it. That's it. Stuff takes a very long time, especially when you're talking about capital projects, $20-30 million of an install. Stuff takes a long time to execute. Anyways, hope you liked it. I'm Ryan the Ride Mechanic. Please like and subscribe. I don't know why I can't say subscribe these days. It is just something else with me. Anyways, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.